Welcome back to Football Daily, where today we've constructed a team of potential transfers that could be absolutely awful. Most of them could happen this January, but there are also a few sagas that will almost certainly play out until the summer. Let's go. Goalkeeper Joe Hart to Preston. As if Joe Hart hasn't had a bad enough time in the last few years, just when he thought he'd finally consolidated himself at a club, it all blows up in his face. Dropped by Sean Dyche after conceding 5 at home to Everton, club captain Tom Heaton is back in the side and doesn't look like budging. This has led to talk of Hart having to go elsewhere to fight first team football yet again. And according to reports, Championship side Preston could be the former England #1's next home. It's over 10 years since Hart appeared outside of the top flight, and it's not even as if the Lily Whites have promotion ambitions. They currently sit 18th in the second tier, 14 points off the playoffs. It would be a sad state of affairs for a man considered one of Europe's top keepers just a few years ago. And at 31, he should still be in his prime. However much he has declined over the past couple of seasons, and however much Freddie Flintoff wants it to happen, Hart surely can't be taking this link seriously. Defender Ashley Young to Inter Milan. Another English veteran who's tipped to leave the Premier League is Ashley Young, and although we can't see this one happening, the fact that it's even being suggested is totally ludicrous. Young turns 34 in the summer, and with a new deal at Manchester United yet to be penned, he will be a free agent come to the end of June. This means Inter are free to agree a pre-contract agreement this month to take him to the San Siro on a free in 6 months' time. Why they would want him is another thing altogether. The Red Devils vice captain has never looked truly comfortable as a fullback, and the Nerazzurri already have adequate cover in the right back and left back positions, with Simir Vesako and Asamoah both comfortably better than the veteran Englishman. Inter feel their offer of Champions League football can help lure Young to Italy, but if he is getting minimal game time and almost definitely taking a significant pay cut, what's the point? Defender Toby Alderweireld to Manchester United. It doesn't take a genius to work out the serious surgery is needed on the Manchester United defence. The Red Devils have already conceded more than their total for 2017-18, and if they continue to remain as vulnerable at the back as they have been over the last few months, they will end with around 60 in their against column. That would be their worst showing in the league since 1979. So naturally fans are calling for extra cover at centre-back this January. Now a deal this January now looks unlikely. Tottenham's Toby Alderweireld is available in the summer for £25 million, which on the face of it looks like a reasonable deal. And that coupled with a questionable injury record should be ruling him out of the reckoning for a move to Old Trafford, despite the club's long-running admiration of the Spurs man. While Alderweireld's defensive numbers have stayed consistent over the past 3 seasons, suggesting he will remain an elite defender into his early 30s, but with younger options such as Manolas, Koulibaly and Skriniar also being monitored by the club, albeit at a higher price, surely they would be better off going for a player who both guarantees long-term solidity in the back line and doesn't risk adding themselves to the club's injury list. Defender Nathan Ake to Chelsea. We're fans of Nathan Ake here at FD, and he is having another solid season under Eddie Howe at Bournemouth. He's completing more passes per game than ever before in his career, developing his game as a ball-playing defender, and has already equalled his best Premier League goal tally with 3. But we're not a fan of the latest reports linking the Dutchman with a move back to Stamford Bridge. Sure, Ake has the potential to fit into a side of Chelsea's calibre, but with David Luiz and Antonio Rudiger immovable objects in the Blues' defence, we can't see him getting the game time he needs right now. After all, he turns 24 in February. Christensen can't get anywhere near the side, and although we imagine Sarri would be more favourable to Ake, it would still be a major risk for the career of a man who was sold by the club less than 2 years ago. Yet another case of Chelsea not giving their talented youth products a chance. Their buyback fee for Ake would set them back £40 million, meaning that they'd make a £20 million loss on a player they originally had for free. Midfielder Willian to Barcelona. Kicking off our super attacking midfield is Willian, who somehow still hasn't left Chelsea. This time last year, he was being tipped to rejoin former Blues boss Mourinho at Old Trafford and would have gone to Barcelona in the summer had Chelsea not rejected a plus £60 million offer for the Brazilian, this time offering Malcolm as part of the deal, despite the former Bordeaux forward being 9 years younger than Willian and having only been at the Camp Nou since last July, when they parted company for €41 million. But the only thing more unbelievable than a club who are already planning a huge stadium revamp wanting to commit financial suicide in the transfer market is the fact that Chelsea have rejected the offer. Despite being frozen out of the Blaugrana side by Valverde, there's still immense talent to be worked with. This could be the most expensive mistake Barca have ever made, even worse than that Ibra Eto deal. Midfielder Marouane Fellaini to AC Milan. After being a cornerstone of Jose Mourinho's Man United, Marouane Fellaini has become a peripheral figure since Solskjaer's appointment in December. He hasn't appeared in the Premier League since a 3-minute cameo against Cardiff in the Norwegian's coach's first game in charge, meaning the prospect of him finally leaving Old Trafford is now becoming quite real. AC Milan have been long admirers of the Belgian, and his current situation has alerted the Rossoneri once again. But having attempted to secure Fellaini on a free last summer before he signed a contract extension with the Red Devils, they would now have to pay actual money for the 31-year-old. The former Everton man could be a useful tool, but with this current Milan side focusing on bringing a more possession-based game back to the San Siro, we're struggling to see how he'd fit in. Perhaps they're thinking of the potential loss of Higuain and Fellaini's ability as an orthodox target man. But with just 5 goals and 2 assists in the last 2.5 seasons, his track record in front of goal isn't actually that good at all. With Porto also reportedly interested, Milan may even struggle to land their man. Midfielder Danny Drinkwater to Fulham. The man whose move to Chelsea led our very own Zach Jalab drinking milkshake from an old sock. Danny Drinkwater could be on the move again after just 5 Premier League starts in his 1.5 years at Stamford. This season, the former Leicester man has only been included in the matchday squad twice, and his only minutes came off the bench in a Community Shield loss to Manchester City. Now it looks like the 28-year-old will be linking up with his old coach Ranieri at Craven Cottage, with some reports suggesting that he and Victor Moses have already been shown around the West London club's training ground. While it's a nice idea in theory, it's a sad state for a club who spent nearly £50 million on Jean-Michel Seri and Andre Frank Zambo Anguissa in the summer. Both are more adept centre midfielders than Drinkwater, but with Anguissa making less tackles and interceptions at 19th place Fulham than he was in a high-flying Marseille side last season, it's clear that the Cameroonian still needs time to prove himself as a midfield destroyer in the Prem. Familiarity may be what Ranieri needs right now, but it just goes to show how desperate the situation is at Fulham. Midfielder Yannick Carrasco to Arsenal. With Arsenal's lack of transfer funds, Unai Emery has made it clear that the Gunners can only afford to take players on loan this season, and despite his side's defence possessing the most obvious gaps, it appears that midfield and attack are the areas being looked at. Dennis Suarez and Ever Banega have been tipped to fill spaces in the centre and are both decent options, but the club's preference of winger is more puzzling. Yannick Carrasco may only be 25, but having been in China with Dalian Yifang for the best part of a year, you can be certain that the Belgian will be well off pace if he made the switch to the Emirates. Plus his record in the Far East isn't particularly outstanding. 7 goals and 5 assists in over 2,000 minutes isn't great for a former Champions League finalist in the CSL, and he is actually creating less chances a game than he did at Atleti. Add to the fact that Arsenal are in need of someone who can play on the right, Carrasco plays very predominantly on the left, and the need to negotiate down his £170,000 wages, and this looks increasingly like a waste of the club's time. Forward, Odion Ighalo back to the Premier League. Another man who wants out of China is Odion Ighalo, and it's no surprise. The Nigerian striker was the second highest scorer in the CSL last season, but his 21 goals accounts for nearly half of Changchun Yaitei's entire output, and they've now been relegated to the second tier. Amid interest from a car crash Fenerbahce, Ighalo has apparently stated a desire to return to the Premier League, with Southampton and West Ham allegedly monitoring the situation. But let's face it would be a terrible bit of business. He had dropped off horribly by the time he left the Prem in 2017. 15 goals in 37 appearances had turned to 1 in 18, making it no-brainer for Watford to let him go for £20 million. Furthermore, Changchun are looking to recoup that same fee they paid for him 2 years ago. Our advice would be to stay well clear. Forward, Andre Silva to Chelsea. One of the most interesting transfer rumours to spring up this window, Andre Silva's potential move to Chelsea would see the Sevilla loanee take up Maurizio Sarri's problem centre-forward position, with Morata understood to be heading in the opposite direction should a deal go through. Silva has been bossing at the Raymond Sanchez PSG, averaging a goal every other game to help Sevilla carve themselves out as title contenders. But you only need to rewind 9 months to see how badly it can go wrong for the Portuguese striker. 2017-18 was a mess for Silva, scoring just twice in 24 appearances for an underperforming AC Milan side. Although much of his game time was off the bench, expected goals didn't see him perform much better at less than 4 goals. Clearly a very poor fit. We expect he would fare better in a side as creative as Sarri's, but he's currently very comfortable playing in a duo with Ben Yedder in Sevilla, and a move to London would see him have to adapt to a new system quickly. A very big gamble for a team who are desperate for goals. Forward, Marko Arnautovic to China. So far we've faced the prospect of 2 players returning from China, and we finish off the squad with someone who's desperate to get out there. Recent reports have revealed that West Ham have received a £35 million bid for an unnamed club, rumoured to be Shanghai SIPG, for the services of Marko Arnautovic, who is currently the Hammers' top scorer with 9 goals in all competitions. But now Manuel Pellegrini faces losing the Australian, with the striker's brother, who is also his agent, claiming he is hungry to challenge for titles in China. We strongly suspect an inflated wage package is what's really on his mind, and we don't blame him. At 29, this may be the last time he gets an offer like this. But either way, this is a move Pellegrini can't afford to let happen if he wants his first season at West Ham to be a success. Andy Carroll can't be trusted to stay fit, Chicharito is a bad fit, and Lucas Perez has failed to kick on. Furthermore, the club would also have to give up a chance of the transfer fee, with Stoke entitled to 20% of it. Plus, we can't imagine CSL fans being particularly thrilled about his potential arrival. So that was an exercise of terrible transfers we think could happen this January. If we've missed anyone out or you have any suggestions, comment below. And as always, like and subscribe.